All right, gang, we are now going to do the practice problems on lesson 1.2b using segments and congruence. Remember, our goal for this lesson is to find segment lengths by using segment addition and congruence. We're focusing on the definition of congruent, exact same size and same shape. What I would like you to do now is just pause the video and jump ahead to the practice problems. These first questions deal with finding the length. Find the following lengths using the given number line. So we're going to be using this number line right here to calculate all of these values. A couple things that I want to point out before we get to that. It says right over here on the left some study notes or some things to think about. It says, what does it mean if there is no bar above the letters? That's really important because that gives you a lot of information about what kind of answer they're looking for. If there is no bar above the letters, remember they're looking for a length, and a length is a number. So notice all of these questions, A through F that we have here, right here. AE, no bar, no bar, no bar. These answers, numbers, numbers, numbers. All of those give you some information on how you're supposed to answer these. Then the next question says, how do you find the length between points? And in this case, because it just goes left and right, all we're going to be doing is counting spaces. We also learned earlier that the other way to find that distance is by subtracting. So those are the methods that we're going to use. First question, A to E. Find A, find E, and find out how many spaces there are between A and E. So if we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's our first 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spaces between A and E. What's a little faster way of doing that? Look at these two numbers on the bottom. If you subtract them, 8 minus negative 7, that turns into addition 15, or negative 7 minus 8, you get negative 15, and remember we said throw away the negative. That is how you can calculate the space between those two. So ideally what I'd like you to do is pause your video for just a second and see if you can answer those next two questions. All right, we're going to check those two answers that you filled in there. The first one, BC, got under my pause button here. It turns out BC is 3. If I measure from B to C, 1, 2, 3, 3 spaces. The one thing you want to make sure is that a lot of times people count the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. The answer is not 4, it is 3. There are 3 spaces between B and C. Then the next one, from C to E, the answer is 7. Measuring from C to E, from here all the way to here, I have the numbers 8 and 1. If I use my subtraction method, 8 minus 1 equals 7. Or 1 minus 8 equals negative 7, throw away the negative, 7 spaces. Now, the next questions, they ask us to find the length that is 11, 8, and 15. And again, what I would like you to do is pause the video, see if you can come up with those numbers. All right, the answers that I got here for letter D, 11 spaces. We have to count all the way across. That guy right there, I got that to be AD. Then for F, 8 spaces. Measuring, and again, 4 to 2 would be 6. 4 to negative 7, all too far. From 2 to 4, what do we got? And I have from A to C. A to, oops, sorry. From A to C, negative 7 to 1 is 8 spaces. The last one I got, 15 spaces, I got AE. All right? Then, pause this guy, and let's come back and pick up on the last question, G. Question G asks us, are these segments congruent? Now, we have three things that we need to talk about. They want to know which segments are congruent. How do you know that they're congruent? And what else do you need to know if there's something you don't know? So the question is, are they congruent? Don't know. How do we find that out? Well, thinking about what we just talked about, J to K, if I count those spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. JK is 5 spaces. Then LM, different than what we did, but it does go straight down. L to M, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. The one that's a little bit tricky is A to B. We didn't talk about things that go sideways. So it says which segments are congruent. We know that JK is congruent to LM, but I don't know about AB. We didn't talk about that at all. For the first two, how do we know that? This guy right here. We use just simply counting from left to right or top to bottom. What else do you need to know? Well, to find AB, we need to know how to do the diagonal lines. And actually, we're going to learn that in a later lesson in this chapter. What I do want to point out on this lesson is I can do a little smartboard magic, and I can go from J to K, and I can measure that 5, and I can actually pull that out, and I can turn that, and it turns out that AB does also measure 5. Again, something that we're going to learn in a later lesson. The last thing that I want you to notice is this question over on the side. It says, how do you show that segments in a diagram are congruent? And to do that, that's where we put our tick marks. I can put tick marks on all of those, and that shows that they are equal. Now in this problem, I chose to put 2 tick marks on everything. If I wanted, I could have put 3 tick marks on everything. I could have only put 1 tick mark on everything. As long as you mark them all the same, it's understood that they are all equal. Now, we're going to take this guy. We're going to pause it. You guys are going to go back and work on your homework, and we'll talk tomorrow in class.